Hi everybody, this is so exciting. How is everybody doing? Oh, got some lovely faces there. Wave, yeah, can you hear us? Wave back. Yay. Right, oh, I'm looking forward to this. Bear with me. Yeah. We're going to sort of go through it, and then instead of taking questions while we're doing it, we'll do questions at the end. If you do have any questions, just type them in and Andrew will tell me, you know, he'll whisper in that ear. Because I don't know what's going on in that ear, but yeah, so any questions, just type them in. I've not got a screen to type, can't type fast anyway. So, and then Andrew will come back to me and let me know. Well, I'm so excited. Basically, it's my first Zoom lesson with you, and it's the first Zoom lesson with Highlight Crafts. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits, and I think this lesson's all about getting to know the product. It's okay me saying, oh, you could do this on the telly, but I think these really condense that, so you are confident and you think, oh, right. But I thought what I would need would be like a little flip book. So what I've done is, you don't have to do this. You could just do it all on a page and cut it out later if you wish. So, just going to move these the right way. So these are my little tags, right? And all they are my new collection. I've got a little tag. But what I thought would be really good is if we do a technique on a tag, let it dry, and as we go, we'll write on them what we've done. And I think when you sort of come to do it on your own, you're able to do it. Because at the moment, it's like, oh, what did she say? Oh, I can't remember that. I know what I'm like. So I thought a tag, a piece of paper, you know, if you've got a piece of paper like this, it might be an idea just to do sections. And then at the end of it, you've got like a catalogue of techniques, all with cadence, just with what we had on the show. And we are recording this. And when, you know, you'll be emailed a link from Highlight to watch it back whenever you want. So don't rush it. Right, you will be emailed. So what I'm going to do is just talk about, there they are. It's annoying me that they weren't straight. So basically, cadence is a hybrid acrylic. What does that mean? It means instead of just doing one job, some elements of different paints are put together to do a multitude of jobs. So you haven't just got splits in paints. So a hybrid means that you bring two or more elements together to get the best of everything. Because sometimes you'll need that paint for that and that paint for that. And then that's, you know, it's getting quite expensive, that. So cadence have come together and they really are strong paints, I can tell you now. Colour density, normally you lose one element. You lose like the colour if it's strong. With these you don't lose any elements. So I thought, I'll shut up and just show you. So they are really, they've won loads of awards and they have brought all these ideas of good practice, good paints, good things together for you. And this is what it is. So I'm going to start with some bright colours so you can see. I'm going to use the pink. Now, this is a multi-service. It goes in all sorts. I've got it on fabrics, I've got it on paints, I've got it, fabrics on card, on paper, on leather. It goes on all sorts of surfaces. It goes on clay. If you're using it outside, you might need extra protection. You might. I would say always do that. But, you know, I've used this on fabric. I've used it on fabric, but I'll be honest with you, not to wear, but fabric to use. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's have a look at the paint. So you'll have bought this paint, you'll have think, right, well, what do I do with that? Well, let's have a look at the consistency. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out. Do not use too much. The idea is, because you've got a little sort of aperture, it means that you're not worried about squeezing out too much. And you never waste it because you make backgrounds, which we'll do later on. And after working, my sketchbooks is made with backgrounds, some of the best work. So let's have a look at the consistencies. The essential colours, Sue, thank you. I did put a little group together, so it would be 2 yellows, 2 blues and 2 reds. And I know it sounds a bit mad, but I'd have like a lime yellow and an egg yellow. I'd have a poppy red and a warm red, and I'd have a sort of ultramarine and then a greeny blue. And that's it, black and white. If you're going for these, I would go for the yellow, the warm orange, the green, because green's a really difficult colour to get, a mid-green, or I like lime, and I would get the blue and the ultramarine. So I'll just put some show you here. I haven't got them all here because they're all over the place, but you'll see these are basically the colours are white and black. And I do that, I put a little colour on top there. And you've got to, it's the law, get, whoa, not the metallics. Oh, can't tell you. So we go for that, we go for red. That, to me, with, which green? That one. That is my body of colour. That's all really that you need. After that, it's all additions. But, so you can see, eggy yellow, more of a warm orange. We've got a warm red. We've got a bluey green. And we've got a blue and a black and a white. But also, if you want to start, these are the colours that I would suggest, because I just love these colours, is these are what we call the opposite colour wheel. These are what digital, you know, people who work on computers and stuff use. And it's more of a fuchsia or a magenta, a turquoise and a lime. And these actually just make such a difference to your collection. They just add so much impact. Yes, I would, but Cadence actually do fabric paints. If you're using it on fabric, you would have to heat set it. But the only thing with that is Cadence does do a fabric paint, and I would always use that if I'm going to wash it. This really can be used on any surface, but if you're going to be using it, I would definitely go to the fabric one. But yeah, I've used it on all my canvases, paints, you name it. But, you know, I've heated and it's been fine. The only thing is, like I say, if you're wearing it, it's got to be below 40. So let's get a bit of consistency. So let's look at the paint. You may find that when you put the paint out, you've got like an oil. Don't worry. That is the binder. So if you think the binder looks like this, I'm just putting the blender and the 2 blended solutions. I've got the extender here as well. But if you put those right there, you glue. That's what holds the colour together. And then all the particles are ground up from different minerals, rocks, you name it. And then they don't dissolve, they're suspended. And they're that minute, they're suspended within this liquid. So if you think, if you brush it, you can brush it out sometimes. Well, that's because it's not laid down thick enough. So never worry about that. Get the end of your paintbrush and just give it a wiggle like that. Clean it. Because I've got, you know what I'm like, I tend to get it everywhere. I like to get it on presenters, I'm pretty good at that. So, let's look at that. It's still not clean. Give me something to, I'll clean it. Shh, don't tell anyone. No. Don't tell anyone. Don't do that on your top. Right, so let's look. No water on your brush, it's really important. The reason we don't use water on the brush is because we don't want to extend the paint. So, I'm just... Now, that's just with one stroke, okay? I'm going to add a tiny bit of water to my brush, if I can. Not a lot, I'll show you, because this is important to see, because you don't get told all this. So I'm going to turn it round, and now, tiny bit more. See, with water, you're actually sort of getting all the molecules sort of apart, so you'll get a different reaction. But if you put too much water in, they lose the consistency. So you can just see now, it works brilliantly, solid on its own, or with that. So let's look at a layer. Yeah, pretty fast actually. So we've done one layer. Now what I'm going to do is do the same colour, but this time I'm going to use a blended solution, which was in the pack, and well, I'm just going to show you the difference because people have asked me this before. A little bit of colour in the blender and I'll show you the difference. It sort of makes it more viscous. So now I can get a much more sort of glazed effect. And that's just one. So you can see I'm just adding these up now. So we've got 2 layers on that and we've got this nice finish. You can see it's quite matte, but it's not chalky matte. And then that's with the water, which is matter, because the chalkiness is what we call a matting agent. And if you're getting more and more water in it, you're getting rid of the matting agent. So it gets like that. And then this is where the blending solution. I'm going to quickly turn this over and I'm going to go straight in with just a tiny bit of water. And I'm going to just put that there. And then see if I can move this with a tiny bit of water while it's still wet. Yes, so I can bring that down so I can get that wonderful blend with the water if I wish, and then clean your brush off again. And what happens is when you're doing this, you sort of, the particles of paint are moving away. And this is card, this is just card. I don't want anything, I don't want you to think I'm using, you know, super duper washy watercolour paper. I wanted it to be what you had at home. There's no point in me doing that. Right, can you see now I've got that transition? It's going from a full colour to a watercolour. So let's see if we add a little bit more. So there we go. Whilst it's wet and it's got that water on it, we can keep doing it. But let's see what we do now. This is what we call a colour on colour. So we'll go back to the first one. I'm sort of rushing a little bit, but I think you need to see this, how it all works, and then we can do a little product with it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this on the top, and I don't think you'll see much of it now, but what we get when we come to the end, you'll see it, what we've got is a watermark. We used to do it years ago. We used to call it what was it, tone on tone, and you could just see it. I know Andrew is wonderful with camera. It's just slightly wet, but when we come to that later on, you'll see it'll be very, very sort of subdued. So we've got our colours. Now, when these are dry, we're going to write on them. So colour with colour. So I've got the pink. It could be any colour, but how does it mix? What does it look like? So keep these, they're great for you, mixed media. I'm going to put out the yellow, and this one is the lemon, and then a little bit of warm orange. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's already mixed. It's there for me. Why not use it? Tiny amount. You don't need a lot. And if you can, keep a brush for each colour. And the only reason I'm doing that is because you get clean colour. So let's look at this. So we're going to put a little bit. I love doing this. I could do this all day because it's like, oh, what will I get with that colour? Right, so let's get this colour down. So I'm using it straight from there. I'm going to add a tiny bit. Now, a tiny bit of the warm orange, and I'm going to mix on top. Oh, that's nice. Really nice. And it's, add a little bit more. Go to my next colour. If you didn't get the blend it wasn't, yeah, it was on the show, but it wasn't in the bundle, you know, just to clarify. So, you know, I don't want people worrying. So, but I would definitely have a look on, because I've got another little offer for you later. So, look at the blending now. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got that beautiful blend. And when we see Stephanie using it on both sides of the flat brush, we could do that with it as well. I mean, I'm not anything like Stephanie, obviously, but we'll look at it that way. I know she really does. She's amazing at this. I feel silly doing it now, but you can get that wonderful blend with it again like that. So you've got that. But if I wanted to, what I would do is I would tend to sort of want to bring this out this way. Right, so there's the blend. Using really simple little colours. So let's look at it the opposite way. I'm going to get another one. I'm going to get the orange and I'm going to put the orange up. Still got pink on, doesn't matter. It's giving me a warmer orange, so I'll put the yellow with it as well. And you can see how simple it is to blend. Like that. So we've got the watercolour effect, where we've pulled it down. We've got, just see it drying. So you've got you've got the layer, 2 layers, and then blended out. And then we've got the blended colours, and then we've got just mixing with the brush. So you can see it's very versatile, but I want to mix with a stencil. So let's get a stencil out now. And I've got one here. This is one of my new ones. And I've got this flower here. Now I've got some colour on it, so I always, can you see, you've got the colour. I don't mind about that. It really doesn't matter because I want to show you it blended. So I'm going to get one of these. Now, if you haven't got this, it doesn't matter, but I want to show that a lot of people have got these and it works brilliantly with your paints. So I'm just going to push that in. Now, because I've got no water on this, I'm just getting pure paint and the colour that's already on. So I'm just going to blend that in. Very soft. Add a little bit more. And this is the beauty of these. If you haven't got these, perhaps you could, you know, oh, I've moved it. I'll do it again. Well, it's me. I moved it, didn't I? Right. Rewind. You'll do that as well. Just put the colour down. It's better. Right. So I've got the yellow there. And I'm going to go in with I'll go in with the brush. No. Got a little bit of purple on this. I've tried to wash them, but sometimes, you know, you wash stuff and you think, that looks like it's still got it on. It has. It's properly clean, believe it or not. So now I'm just going to come in with my pink. And I'm just going to blend over that and see what I get. You do use a little bit more paint than you think, but it's not bitter. You get a really lovely blend, and that's because of the wonderful products that make it up, the binder. There's the advantages of using paint through stencils. Is that it's permanent. A lot of inks are water, you know, react with water, but it's more intense. You use a lot more ink, it sinks in. Whereas with paints, they dry quicker. Plus, they've got more of a permanent like coating over the top. So you can see it blends just as well. And the difference is with inks, it's hard to layer. So now when I leave that to dry, I can go straight back on and add a light colour over that. Whereas you can't do that with inks because it will react. So we've got that colour there. Let me put it back on. Can you see? We've just done orange in the middle and I did it Pete tongue and then went round the edge, but I've got a lovely blend. So that's with a blend with one of these. So we're going to work with looking at these. So I'll get another one and then we'll do a 3 colour blend. So can you see how it's really important that you try and keep colour for one? So we're going to use this. And you don't need it all the way down there. If you load it all the way down there, what happens is it saturates the brush and you get like a really wet, it's like putting a roller on the wall and you put too much on, it flicks everywhere. Whereas this, it's more like you're putting a smooth finish on it. Whereas the other's quite sticky, this is quite smooth. So it's more like what we call dry brushing. So here I'm going to put a little bit of the pink in the middle. And I'm going to go in with the yellow and the orange. And the thing is, you can mix them together on your brush. It's brilliant. This is just such a good cheat. I'm going to bring that in there. But this time, I'm going to get the other one and add more yellow. And let's see what blend we get now. Might add a little bit more. And then if you add pink to different colours, you're going to get loads of sort of interaction with different colours. You might get mud if you mix too many, but There we go, that's better. So let's look at the two together where we've mixed it together. Now I'll show you the same with the brushes, but you sometimes push the paint underneath the stencil, which it can be a little bit difficult, but you know, don't let that spoil it. But you can see how we've mixed the two together. We've got orange and yellow with the pink, and then we've got that. So let's look at how when we had red. So we're going back to the main colours that you got in the bundle. So let's have a look at how we work with them. So I'm going to put out a little bit more. I'm going to clean that up because is that one? That's that one. Do you talk to yourself? I talk to myself all the time, and I answer myself, which is it's not right, that, is it? It's a bit strange. But, yeah, very strange. Anyway, so we'll go back to the colours that we've got. So we've got the red and the yellow, and we've got the blue in the pack, and we'll just go through those colours to show you what we can do. Now these are what we call your main colours. So this is the colour wheel. So we've got red, yellow and blue. And those colours cannot be made. They can only be mixed. So if you think of primary as in your first school, the second school is secondary. And that's how you remember, that's how I remembered anyway. So it's primary colours, secondary colours, and then a primary and a secondary is a tertiary. Just think of thirds. So when we mix the paints together, let's have a play with the paint. Now I've got water on my brush, only because I've just cleaned it. So I want to see, look at that for the coverage. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this yellow one, the orange, and I'm just going to do in the middle. So I'm going to put a little bit in the middle. And this is sort of a really good way of blending. Then get rid of my lines. Then I'm going to get another brush for my yellow, because I had the orange there, and you can see I have the lightest colour. Now I don't like that line there. Can you see that line? I don't like that. It's annoying me. Not wrong with it, it's just me. So what you do is just pick up your middle colour, your orange, and just go back over. And what it is like two steps forward, one back, and you blend it in. Now, you can't do that with a lot of paints because they're not strong enough. The colours sort of, what we call, they start to sort of move, and that's no good if you're trying to blend. So there we go, we've got a really nice blend, very light to quite dark, and we can mix that again. So what happens if I bring in another colour, which is the blue? So just going to add a tiny bit, because they're so powerful. So I've got a tiny bit of blue. Now, I'm just going to bring this in. It might be too wet. This might be dry underneath, but I'm not worried with these products because I can mix them in. Look, tiny bit of water on that. I'm going to go back to my red, and then I'm going to make a magenta. So I'm going to go that way. Not magenta, sorry. Like a plum colour. And then blend that in. Can you see I've got that line again? Go back over, blend it in. And each time you do that, just clean your brush off. Go back to your other brush. I'm going to put some yellow on that now. Get the other one, sorry, that one. Bring the orange in. Blend the colour over. Now this is, to me, this is, if you can do this with a paint, and I can teach someone to do it with a paint, then I've got to tell you, it is a good product, because you don't often, well, it's very rare you get a technique like this done so easily with such a good finish in such a short time. I'm not trying to say I've been doing it for years. You can do this. You can easily do it if you follow these steps. But what happens if I want to put that on MDF or something? Right, now, I've got some MDF thing, don't know what it is, but what happens if I want to sort of turn that up and put it on fabric or card or MDF. Perfect. So we'll do the same. We'll start with the blue this time. Although it is quite a strong colour, you need very little. Where's my blue brush? Oh, it'll be in here. Now, you can use a gesso. I didn't have it in the bundle, but it's worth getting. And the other thing is, there's a code for the aqua stone. I'll come with that in a minute. So, I've got this here. I'm going to use very little. I'm using the wrong fan brush. It's a fan brush. My brush is fine. It's just a fan brush. So I'll show you what this does, what we call dry brushing. So this is great for dry brushing a fan brush. So if I wanted to, I'll get another piece of paper. I can do trees. Put a bit of green in there. There you go. So it's such a good thing. So even with the blue, I can make a Christmas card with this. But it's just the colours as well. Anyway, so it's not my brush isn't ruined. But they're so easy to use. I can use them like a watercolour. Just show, you know, it's amazing. So I've put a little bit on here with a little bit more water on my brush. So I'm going to go in now. And I'm mixing on here. So let's see what colours we can get. So here we go in with a tiny bit of water on here. I didn't pick any up there. No wonder it's not. I'm like that thinking, what's going on here? I've not got any water on my brush. So this is a dry brushing blend because I've basically got very little on my brush. So we've got that. I mean, it's quite hard for me to see because the light's shining on it. But so if you think of it, you do one colour and then halfway over that you do the colour next colour. So you sort of keep going back over it. So you get that beautiful blend of colours there. It's quite very therapeutic. But now I want to lift it. I want to put that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the bigger brush. Now this had pink on it. So I'll get my yellow. Bear with me. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange. I'm going to see what it looks like. Bear in mind this is MDF. And you might want to do this on a package or a present or anything like that. And you're thinking, well, it's all right just using it for card making. But I'll show you what else you can do with card making. It's brilliant for it. Right, so just add in a little bit of the warm orange to bring it together. And then I'm going to go right in with the light. Have you noticed I've not used white? Because you get a different reaction. And I'll show you why. So now I'm just going to put that on. And I'm not scrubbing, I'm flicking. If you think that it's sort of like tickling, you're just tickling. Because if you start scrubbing, you're just going to lift the paint. And then you're going to lift the other paint. And you want it to be quite a... See that blend? I mean, if I was to ask a question... Actually, I'll ask the question. Which colour do you think I need to blend more in there? Let's see. Let's see if anybody knows. You'll know, because you can tell. Someone know? Anyone? What colour do you think I need to blend? Put more of in. But I haven't got orange-ish. So what other colour would I use? Yeah, Philomena. Yeah, you'd use your lighter colour. Perfect. You all know, see? Wilhelmina, perfect. Red, perfect. Those colours you need. You see, you've done it. You've done it. Now, you have learned what it takes sometimes, years, because good paint, good product, you show easy ways. I've learnt the easy ways of doing it so that it can show you. But yeah, all of those, you go back over the colours. So Wilhelmina said that, orange. I can't remember who said the blue. Nikki, you said red, perfect. And Adriana, you see, you're all right, because it all depends on how much colour you've got. But yeah, can you see? Now, I could add more here. So I was so chuffed that because you do know it, we'll say, oh, I don't know. You do, because your gut tells you that's the right colour to use. So if I want to soften this up, here's another little trick. Now what I'm going to do, and this you can do it with a lot of paints, but I've not found a paint that allows the bottom layer to stick. The top layer always sort of brings off the bottom. So I'm quite impressed with this. So I'm just going to pounce that on like that. And I'm brightening it. You see I've got these lines. I've done that on purpose because now I can get the brushes again and just flick through and they go, look. I'm so pleased with that. Now if I wanted to really be clever, take it one step further, because I think everybody should learn these little steps, and you'd be surprised how much your work goes from like you quite like it to amazing, because these little tricks are like tricks of the trade. And once you've learnt them, the confidence you gain from this, you can explore other ways and you're not worried about getting it all wrong or doing it wrong. So can you see I've just edged it in red and that brings it. I could edge it in yellow. But down here, I'm just going to edge this in blue. And the reason, oh wait, like juggling today. What's up with me? Get in, rubbish. Yeah, if you can just, tiny bit. There's a little trick with your brushes as well. Shouldn't be telling you this. But if they've gone, don't leave them in water. If they've gone all curly. It's a secret, right? Don't tell anyone. Pan of boiling water and you just dip them in and they go straight again. Can you imagine what it was like as an art teacher? Right, can you see how I built up depth now? So, I'm going to show you Aquastone. You cannot be without this. I come across this and I was using it for something else. And I thought, Aquastone, what's this? I'll let that dry and I'll put a layer on it to show you. I love doing this. So let's get a bigger piece of paper, shall we? Just to show you the difference. But same size again, it's just easier for me to show you. And I'm going to put yellow. I'm going to blend it in. Nope, I don't need to take my stencil down. If you want to, you can. I'm just going to show you this bit because I'm going to cut it up. So I'm just going to put a very light dusting on it. Okay, like that. So we've got a lovely blend. And the colours are already mixing on my brush. So I don't need to worry about mixing with those colours that you bought. You've got them all. Well, sort of. You haven't got them all, but you've got a really good basis to start. So I'm going to put the next colour in, and it's added a little bit more. But keep pushing. If you go like that straight away, you're going to get a massive blob. So you work it in your brush, but not all the way down, and you get a wonderful dry brushing. So let's do that one. See, and I'll put another one in, and this time a tiny bit more red in it, just to show you how. Right, so we've got 3 distinct sort of flowers there, and I'm thinking, I want it to go even lighter than that. I want it to be like a sheer glaze. Get your Aquastone. It's like, oh, look at that. It's like glass. It's like glass. You put a little bit out. Oh, I'm not bunged up, am I? Ah, you know me and being bunged up. Not literally, but that doesn't sound very good, does it? Where's me bunger, me unbunger? That sounds wrong. Anyway, what you do is just need a little bit, a tiny bit. There we go. And if you think of that wonderful product that we've all used, Glossy Accents, it's like that but more liquid, and you can create a resin effect with it. You could do all sorts of things. But now I've done that flower there, I'm going to show it you using that. All dry, look, all dry. Made a right mess, haven't I? Right, let me get my flower. Now this, what's long? Not much. I'm going to get my stone, Aquastone, And I'm just going to blend it and show you the difference. And I get a beautiful high shine. Now, it goes on and on. This is that Andrew's just said to me, I hope you don't mind. This makes it look like an ink. It does. It does. It makes it react and act like an ink. And then you're like, now you've got one product that does all these things. That's so important. So I've got like an ink finish, a chalk finish, a distress finish. I can add all these things, techniques to my work, but I'm using the same colour, the same product. So that means I'm going to get pure colour. So look, and that finishes, believe it or not, really shiny. I could put another layer of just clear. There we go. I'll put another one, just using that at the bottom, and then we'll let it dry and see what it looks like. So just take it off, because sometimes if you push too hard, you'll push it underneath your stencil. But it doesn't really matter because it creates a glaze. So you can see now we've got that. So I'll put that to dry and I'll put it on one of my tags. If you want your stone glaze, we've got a code. If you go onto the Highlight Crafts website right now, you find what is called Aqua Stone Varnish. It looks like this. Put it in your basket, right? If you go to your checkout and put in Stone 25, in a promotion bit, you know, where you've got a bit that you can add, 25% off. Boom! Yeah, it's not for anyone else. But I really mean, you'll use that like you will glossy accents or anything, but you can use it to get a resin effect. You can do all that. But once you start adding it to these, you have got your inks, you've got your distress inks, you've got that. And I'm going to show you, right, how I can make a distress ink colour with these. By doing it all wrong and getting a brown. So I'm going to leave that there, and you can see it's got a beautiful satin. The more colour I add, the more stone I add, the more shiny it gets. It gets like a glass. Well, you saw it with the bit. So let's get a vintage colour. So I'm going to leave my brushes down. I am going to have to wash these. It is, the worst thing you could do is make brown, they say. But sometimes it's really interesting. So how do you make brown? Well, you literally just put all colours together. Do you know what he's saying to me? You're not very good at making brown, Lou. And I'm like, yes, little Faith. Right. So I'm thinking, everybody says to you, don't mix the colours together because they don't come out nice. Rubbish. If you mix them like this, you can start getting a warmer red to it, makes a warmer brown. You just add. So let's see. It's not a bad brown, is it? It's not bad, but let's see it on the stencil. I want to create a vintage photo sort of thing. So I think, just undo it again. I think what I need then is a little bit more of the yellow and a little bit more. But I think the one colour that I do need is a little tiny bit of black, and that dulls it down. Black is no colour. White is all colours. So, crazy, it's the opposite, but you only need, in fact, that's way too much. Yep. Just clean this in the pan. It comes off, it's water-based. If somebody's just asked, how to clean it, so I'm just answering Andrew, not answering you guys. But if you want to just clean this off, all you need to do is just pop it in water and it cleans really easily. just like the paints. You know, you leave it on, then it will dry. But then you shouldn't leave this on your brush anyway. So we've got this brown now, and it's looking a bit dodgy like that. So I'm just going to pull a little bit out. See, that's way too much now. And that's with the aqua stone. Look at that. Goes all over. I'm going to get a brush. No, I'll get one of my doofers. Oh, I can't use that one. That's a bit bright. I'll use another one. I'll use that one. Okay. Sorry. Right, what's happened? We're having a few technical issues, so what we're going to do is try and kickstart it. So I'm going to go off air for about 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere, and then we'll be back. Okay. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. We're just going to hang on just a minute because loads of people are joining in. Andrew is really sorry. You should hear him because it all turned off. He couldn't do anything. He's like, and you know, poor lad. But yeah, so just going to be a minute while people join in, and I've got like loads of different things to show you as well. So don't worry, we'll recap with the brown because I think the brown, you're going to like that. I think it's a really to get it all wrong and then use that is one of my. I like doing that because you can't get it wrong. Any questions while we're waiting? Mute. What does that mean? Oh, right. Sorry. Unmute if you want to ask questions. Sorry, I didn't know what that meant then. You know when you get a word and you're just like, what's that mean? And yet you know what it means, but it's like, doesn't sound right, doesn't spell right. Palette, as in, I use, for a mixing palette, and Adriana, I would use anything like glass, ceramic, or anything, plastic even, so you can throw it away. Because don't ever wipe it with water. What happens is you then transfer things down the sink that you don't want. So leave it to dry and then use a scraper on it and then put that in the bin because it's a plastic after all and you don't want that down your bin. But I would use anything that's non-porous really. I know Steph uses a plastic bag that she could just fold over, but then at the end of it I like to smooch it all in and get a background. So anything that's non-porous really. So are we getting more people now? Right. Okay. Yes, you can use glycerine with it. It's like, how can I put it? You create like an extender in it, but the only problem with glycerine is sometimes it can go through your paper. It sometimes can mess with the molecular structure of the paint. And if I'm, to be honest, totally honest, I would go for the blender or the extender because that's sort of ironed out all those issues, if that makes sense. It's worth it. Because I went and bought glycerine, it was blooming expensive. So yeah, and no, if you know what I mean. I hope that's answered your question. Right. We're just missing a few people, but I'm just going to get on because I'm conscious that you've got time and, you know, you might have things to do and, you know, that's it. So what I've done is I mixed all the colours together and I got that. Andrew said, you're not very good at making brown. Right, here's little faith. So here it is, plenty of the stone. Now, we all know these famous colours. There we go, look at that for a brown. And here's another one I did in the break, adding a little bit denser. So these are the colours I got. How stunning is that? So we're going to go back to this one that we did. And this is how I wanted to show you to create all your backgrounds. See how it's picking up the paint? And that's quite dry, but it's lifting it. So I've got more of the aquastone, and you can see how it's allowing the other colours to come through. You're getting that transparency that the paint doesn't normally allow you to do, because the paint is made to be opaque. But I'm just going to do a few more around. When I'm pushing this in, I'm creating like wells around the edge, so just be careful. If you don't mind that, that's cool. But this is basically, if you wanted to clean your brush, if you did it this way, you'd end up with a paper as well. So can you see how I'm cleaning it? Look how far it's gone. Look how far. Right, if people want to know what the difference is between an extender and a blender allows the two to come together and reacts faster. So it's quite fast and instant. So you've got to be a bit quicker. An extender allows the paint to go further and it takes longer to dry, so you've got more time to play. So if you think of it like blending is more of a quicker action, extender extends the length of time plus the amount. So you can use it in a similar way. I mean, I can show you now on this, but I just wanted to show you now if you wanted to, say, create depth around something. So I'll get this here and I'll just put this on again. Very light dry brushing. So we've got that nice dry brush effect. Never ever did you think you could do that with opaque paints. I understand. I didn't either. So until this is all about experimenting with these, because I mean, you'll come back to me hopefully and tell me what you've done with them, and you're like, wow, I didn't think of that. So now I'm just going to distress the edges. I picked up a tiny bit of the black that's dried. It looks like there's nothing active, but there is. Watch. I'm just going to darken this, and then I will put this on a piece of paper just to show you the difference. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. Oh, got pink then. But if you do mix a colour, don't worry. You'll have a pink version, which looks quite nice. It warms it up. So if I get a piece of cleaner paper, you can see how that has really made it look like a distress ink. But it's actually permanent, and let's see, will it work on this? Because it's okay me saying a bit of paper, so let's see if it works on the MDF. I want to create an edge. Oh yes, rubs it out with your finger as well. Perfect, look at that. So I'll show you what else it does with a... So I'm going to darken this edge and leave that. Can you see the difference? But let's go in with a... Let's do it that way. Why make it hard for yourself? Why? Because I like to. Because that's how I roll. I'm just going to do a very... So this is not the same old paint. This is really, I'm just going to get it on its own, clean my brush, and I'm going to show you what it looks like just on its own, dry brushing. Now you can do this with any colour, so I'm going to stop using the mucky brown, which I call this colour mucky brown because it's my brown, moodling brown. So I've got that beautiful colour, but what happens if I wanted to do it more blue? So push it right in, get another colour, use another part of the stencil. Oh no, we'll use the same because then it's, you know it is. This stencil's coming at the end of the month. It's my brand. It's my first one. Yay. So we've got a distress. This is more like your denim or not your broken china, but look at that. That is ink, isn't it? So let's see what it looks like if I drop this and I go with a brush. So we'll just get the same effect. Same paint, sorry. Well, different effect altogether. So now what I'm going to do is paint it in. Be careful when you paint it in, because it will or could push underneath. So just be light with it. Yes. Look at that. See how vibrant and one's more distressed. But work that into your brush and then flick onto your work. Because you're flicking onto your work, what happens is you're sort of lifting up at the end. So as you lift up, you're not putting that pressure on the end of your paper, so it's not got blocky lines. So let's do that. Let's add now tiny bit of yellow. What do we get? We should get a nice green. I'll show you the colours now because I think that's important that you see what colours you get when you blend. So I've blended that there. Let's put that colour there with a little bit of the blue in it. Oh, like the stencils. I know, I'm dead happy with them. I'm really loving them. Can't wait to show you. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So we've got this wonderful sort of, it's almost sea-like like that, but that's one of my doodles, so I can't wait to show you what the whole of them are. I've got them all here. Oh, I'll show you this one. Don't tell anyone. Only you guys know. So, yeah, these are all on the 30th if people want to join in with me. This is all about putting colour down and then drawing on the top. So you don't just have to do that, you can do anything you want with these. But let me just show you a little trick when I'm using the blue. Okay, so I'm going to just go around the edge. In fact, let me just go around the edge. Right, okay, so this is what we've got, is a one colour. So what do I mean by that? It means I've not added anything, I've just got this blue. So that then becomes my layering colour. Okay, so anything I put on here will layer beautifully. Now I've not got the right layering tools, but can you see? Let me just wipe that up. Gosh, sure, muck it. Now I'll be able to show you, look. There you go. Don't try and wipe it off with a cloth all over like that. Let it dry, it just comes off, or with a scraper. So there you've got the flat colour, right? So you can layer it with that. So that's your colour made. But I want to now put that same thing, use the same colour, but I'm going to stencil it now. So I've got the layering, I've got the backgrounds, I've got rice papers, you name it, using this way because I'm using the same colour, just different techniques. So if I just put a little bit of that on, and then because I'm using the same base colour, it will always go. Always. If you use a different base colour, it won't be as successful. But once you, it's a bit like putting the foundation on first. If you add that foundation to everything, you know it's going to work. So there's the same colour, working with it, but now we've got the green with it. So build up. So I could do that all over. I've got the background, I've got the rice paper. If you look at the one we did before, we've nearly got a full sheet there, you know, and you just take a little section. But if you can just see, and Andrew's absolutely amazing, and you can see the shine on it, and that is only just a tiny bit of the aqua stone. I'll just move it that way because that's the best one, I think. Bottom one there is, you see the shine on it? There you go. You can see the shine. And the difference between the flat at the back and the shine is that the transparency allows that colour to come through. So you see now you can layer it. You did that with watercolour, you'd have to put like a plastic or a glue or a PVA with the watercolour, which totally defies the object. Somebody's asked, do we use separate blending brushes? I just use the ones I do, but I don't use these. I wash them afterwards because they will go hard. But you just do that and then get the cleaner. I tend to keep one for each colour on the blending brushes, and I keep one that if you've got them, one that blends in between. But I always keep one that blends because you need to keep that clean because you want a clear colour. If it goes a bit stiff, don't worry, just flick it like that, dunk it in water, get it out and use the brush cleaner. It's good as new. But you will, because it's an aqua stone, it's got that finish. In fact, oh, I can't show you, but in my handbag, I've done it with rice paper and I've made my own phone cover with it. So, you know, I might put that in and show you. So let's look at this let's have a look at the colours and how they mix, okay? So we've got the blue, which is a lovely colour. I'm just going to put a little bit of the aqua stone with it just to show you how beautiful it moves, you see? So I can build up lots of layers and I can push the colour in and I've got a glaze. We'll leave that to dry and you'll be able to see the colour on top shining because you can see how shiny it is now. But I'm going to change, just leave that to dry and I'm going to get this back and we're just going to add the same. But I'm going to wash my brush because I don't want any product on it. I want it to be just paint. Now, when you dry your brush, it's really important. Have a rag. I don't tend to use stuff like this. I tend to have a rag, an old tea towel or a pair of drawers, actually. Clean drawers. Or old bedding. I put my foot through the sheet the other night and I thought, I'm sure of doing that because I needed some more rags, but I didn't tell the other half that. I just said, oh, look at that. And then immediately went away and cut it all up. So I'll use this. I'm going to show you a really nice colour now. So just pure colour. Blue. It's a beautiful, warm blue. Now, if I use a tiny bit of black with it, I'm going to make it a cool blue. And this is more of what we call a Payne's grey. So I tend to use Payne's grey rather than black. And you'll see difference now. I haven't mixed it properly, but I've got too dark there. So this is a cooler. Can you see the difference? You've got an indigo. So let's see if I can put a little bit of a blend in between the two. Tiny bit of water. I only want to loosen my brush. There we go. Loosen the paint on the brush. I'm not actually adding enough water to make really that much difference. I'm just loosening the brush, colour brush. So bring that together, can you see? You've gone really dark to really light. So what if I wanted to make it really light? Well, you must, just a little bit of advice, if you're using white, always stick to white. Or if you're using beige or icru, use those. Don't swap and change. I'm going to use white just to show you. Now we're going to get pastels. So it may not work on this because it's dry, but let's see. These are your little sample tags. If you're going to do this, then you know that you can, what's the word? You can do this, write it on the back, and then you think, right, I know how I did that. Right, so it's took white now. But let it dry a bit more. And you see how you're building up now? The colour with the white. But I'm going to show you a trick. So let's go now the opposite way. Let's start with white. And the reason I'm starting with white is because everything colours white. I've got a little bit of yellow on this, but don't worry, it's on my brush. Everything is easy to colour. So, you know, when you're mixing a colour, always start with white and a tiny bit of the main colour. Otherwise, I've seen some of the kids, they've been trying to mix a light blue and they've put the blue in first. Oh, don't. I've been there going, no, don't start with white. And they're like, well, because you've just used a full tube of paint trying to get it light. So can you see now? I want to get rid of that. I want to bring in a pastel. So this is called blending wet in wet. Blending wet in wet. And that means I'm blending wet two wet paints together. You can, yeah, you can. But you can use more water to make it a wash, but I would suggest that you use the extender for that, simply because it doesn't change the glue, the way it sticks. But yeah, you can make a wash. So I'm just going to put a little bit more white. I keep answering Andrew. It's my first time, behave. Right, so what I've done here is I've just brought the colour in. Now, there's another way of doing this. Let me just show you. And it's really easy to remember. All right, we've got about 50 minutes. Wow, great stuff. So I'm going to mix on palette, off paper. So this is what I mean about mixing a colour. You mix the colour, add the white first, tiny bit of colour. So let's put this one down, okay? Right, so we're starting with a very light blue. Just going to loosen my paintbrush a little bit. It's got a bit stiff. That's all I'm doing, loosen it. Each time, I'm not adding more than one. Just a little bit more of that colour. Go across. Tiny bit more. Go across. Tiny bit more. And you're adding now, like that. And each time you add a little bit more, it goes a little bit darker. And before you know it, let me just clean this up here. Before you know it, you're sort of all the way to the other edge. And you didn't even realise. And then pure colour on its own. Just loosen my brush up and all. I don't know who mentioned that, but I will show you about the wash. So, colour on its own. And we've gone all the way, and this is what I thought, you sort of call it like a whitewash. And then, you go over all of it. So, you can do it blended on the palette, blended on the paper. But I like blending on the paper simply because I get all this texture that starts to look like wood and different sort of things like that. You can rub it in. And here's we've got a whitewash. So I'll just put that on there. So if you've got a piece of wood that you want it to look like a whitewash, this looks really cool for it. So that's that. Let's do it with another colour. It's like, what colour? I'm going to try now and just I'm trying to get rid of this because all these colours, believe it or not, I never normally wipe this off. I end up with 3 inches of space to work in because I keep picking these colours up because they're part of my palette, so they're always going to be there. So I tend to use them a bit scruffily like this, but that's how it works. So we've got the yellow. Let's look at the yellow. We've got some there. We're using the red. We've got the orange, so we can make those colours. So let's talk about the red and the blue. We've got to do green as well. So let's look at how we can blend these two together and then make a wash with them. So clean my brush. See what I mean by having a rag at home? I'm not wasting all this. So if you've already gone to order the aqua stone, there's been with the code, there's been a little bit of an issue. So if you can reorder it, then that means we've had to cancel it and restart it. We're having issues, but I think it's the weather. If you reorder it with the code, it'll be there. Can you just remind me what the code is, Andrew? Stone 25 for you, 25% off. But nobody else is getting that. There we go. Use the code Stone 25. It's absolutely brilliant stuff. So, right, let's look at the colour I've got. So, I just forget that I'm on. Even on telly I forget. So I've brought two colours together. I brought the red and the blue. And I've put a couple here. And this is the colour I've got. Oh, stunning. I'm going to use my, I'll use my paintbrush first. There's the purple. So just a tiny bit more water with it to loosen it. There we go. So that is the purple that we get from the blue and the red. Now I'm going to take it a tiny bit more and add a bit more red, the same way we've just done. And we get a warmer purple. Just keep playing, honestly. And then as you're playing and you put right on the back how you've done it, you can go away in the knowledge that you can recreate that. So we've got a warmer purple. And I spend hours doing this. I really do, because I just love doing it. And now we've got more of the red. And this is more of what we call a crimson. It's very different from the not the red that we've got, and I'll show you why. So we've gone, it's quite dark there, but you've got these wonderful, like we've got the blues and the purples now. You can see the depth of colour you've got. So if I... This is actually, yeah, it's in between. There is one, I can't remember the colour, but I haven't used that one, but there is a red that is more of a warm red. But this is right in between. This is like red. This red is like a warm and a cool. So if you do want a warmer red, there is one. I can't remember the name. In the main sort of colour chart, if you have a look at that, and it's slightly more orange, so that might help if you want a lighter or a warmer red. If you want, you know, a cooler red, then this one is very, very good for that. But I'm going to show you the difference now. I'm just going to put pure red there and show you. But yeah, we had a question, you see, about, is this cool red? Is there a warm red available? So that's just answering that question. And then I'll bring this colour in again, bring it into a watercolour, just by scrubbing over, and then I'll show you that. Can you see the difference between see the red? Start with that colour adding blue, we get that. So you've got, oh, I can't tell you how many, but we've got about 20 of them now. So let's look at the green, shall we? Because we've missed out on that. So green's one of them. It's incredibly tricky. It's the only way you're ever going to get a true green repeatedly is if you make one and bottle it. Because if you don't, you're going to get like shades of green. So you know when you go and get your Dulux or your Crown or anything like that, you have to get it mixed on that machine. Well, that's why, because it has to be mixed with the right quantities, otherwise you'll never get the same colour. So if you want to make a green and you really have like got a really favourite green and you've made it and you love it, there's a little, make sure you make enough. And if you stick it on plastic and fold it over, you should be able to keep it for a while as well. But I do understand it's difficult to get enough green made and keep it. But just remind yourself, make too much, then you can always stick it in plastic and keep it. So I'm just going to use the yellow. There we go. And I'm going to use, dry my brush off without water, and we'll go straight with the blue. It's already got a little bit of yellow in it. There we go. So we've got all the colours in between this. So very bright. So let's see how we can do the colours. So I've got that. I'm going to get another blue one. Another tag, and I'm just going to put a little bit more blue. It doesn't really matter that I've got the green on it already, because that's part and parcel of doing swatches, because this is what we're doing. We're actually making swatches, so that when we come to have a look at what colour we want, we can say, oh, that's how we did it, and we'll make it again. So I've done it here. I'm adding that colour to that, but I've got a huge difference. This is when I go tiny bit more, mix it on the palette, blend, tiny bit more, mix it on the palette, and then mix it on here. Still need that, so go back to my yellow, clean the brush again, because the yellow was the first colour, and I'm going to take another colour with a little bit of that in it, a bit more, and it's all about blending colours like this. But if you're really into your colours, then there's nothing to stop you buying that green that will be consistently the same. There we go. So we've got all the greens coming together. Let's add a bit here, see what we get. And I'll put these on. So we've got a limey green. There, add a little bit more blue to it. I think once you've got a base knowledge of colour, the world's your oyster, because you can do anything you want. I think people get worried about colour, and you shouldn't. You should experiment, you should try your colours, you should really mess about with your paints before you get them, and then that way you know what happens when you mix this thing with that thing. You just get really confident with what you do. So there we go, I've mixed on and off, so I've got all sorts of greens there, and I'm not liking that, so I'm going to go in. But I'll show you in a minute what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to put a green on the top because it looks a bit mishy-mashy at the moment. So let's look at this. I've got the blue and the yellow on it. I'm going to put another colour over the top. And this is where we'll see some of this colour, but we'll also see the colour underneath. So I'm going to go back to my pink or my red. Now we'll see how opaque it is. There we go, look at that. So what you've got there is you've got the true blue and the true yellow, but it's now fully opaque. So we can go from that to, let's go to our next one, with the aqua stone. I'm only putting little bits out because I'm quite aware that it does dry. So, you know, it'd be daft if I put loads out. I don't want to do that. So here's that one. Let's do a wash with the aqua stone. So the same colour, but in a wash. So I've got beautiful sort of tones with it. I'm going to add, well, because it dries really fast, put the same one back on. I'm going to get my bluey green one. There we go. Can you see how you just do that? Might need a tiny bit of water, not too much. There we go. And then just around the edges, bit of depth like that, and you get that really nice depth with it. So you've got tons and tons. Let's just have a little recap of all the things we've done and go through what I've been showing you, because it's hard to sort of remember it all actually. So we started at the beginning, we started with colour. So we started with just washing the colours together. Go back to the beginning, where are you? Here we go. So we looked at the colours. You can just see now the colour on colour. It's only very faint, but it's there. And what you can do is, I'll show you something, you can emboss while it's wet as well. You can actually put embossing powders into the wet paint. So we've got the wash, then we added the two colours together on the palette, off palette and on the paper. Then we used, again, more yellow to blend the colours. Then we went from there to using our lovely blending brushes. So we'd see what effect we get when we blend out. Now we're going more to the inks. So this is using more of the extender and blender, and I'm going to work with them now, just so you know the difference. And then this is just pulling it out with water to get a watercolour effect. Then here we made a brown, and we used blue, red, yellow and a bit of black to get all these different colours of distress, because these are quite hard to do these. So these now doubles up as your ink. So now let's look at what else we did here. We did some more distressing around the edge to create that darker colour, and again adding colours. So now we did the white to blue. So we mixed the white to blue. Oh, we've got another distress there. Here we've used it all around the edge so that when we have now created our own colour palette. So I can stamp with it, I can do anything I want with this now. The paint will be all the same colour. Move them over there. Oh, there's another brown I made. See what I mean? I was making loads of browns. You can make it warm, cool. So then what we wanted to do was we mixed a dark and a light. So we went from blue, we had a bit of white, and then we had a tiny bit of black to get a Payne's grey, which is one of the most useful colours ever. Here we've just used a slight green using a blending brush. There's the glaze. Now I said we'd show it you when it's dry. And it's only just a little bit of it, so now that's only on the brush. So if you imagine that dense, a couple of layers, I'll show it you in a minute when we do this. Here we're blending on here, but it looks a bit insipid that. But if I put colours over the top, it'll be brighter. So, you know, you need to see everything. You don't just need to see like, oh, the best bits. Here's the red with the purple. So we did the same thing. We went blue to red, but then we went just the ring, the proper colour as it is, and then water with that. Oh, that's the white to the blue. And then we've stamped, what we've done here, we've actually stamped over to try and show you the opacity of the paint. So we've got the yellow and the blue, and I've stamped over with the pink, and you can see it's all dry now. So last one was using the colours together. So let's have a quick look at this. We blended on MDF, and then we stenciled. So all those techniques. Right, now what I'm going to do is just dip in one of them, and I'm only going to show you half. I've got the glaze on it, and I'm just going to let that dry, and then you'll be able to see, because it's a little bit thicker, so you'll be able to see how different that is when we come to sort of letting it dry properly. So I'm going to create, like, this is your background. So you could create all these, but how can we paint with it? Well, let's see, with the blenders and stuff. Oh, here's a green one we did. I did loads more. So I've got some, this is the new stamped image I've got, and I wanted to show you that how do you paint with it? It's all right showing me showing you all this, but how do you physically paint with this? How can we get that watercolour effect if you want that? How can you mix it? Well, this is what we're going to do now. So I'm going to get out just the colours that you had in that pack. No more. I don't want to... I might use the two I've recommended, because I think you're going to get them. Like the lime is a good one. This is a beautiful colour, and it's got a transparency that it's just beautiful, beautiful. It's really rich, and oh, it's my favourite colour, this turquoise. I love it. So let's get a brush. Now, if you're using these paints, what you do need is a finer brush. I like using daggers. See, I use massive brushes, but it's not always the best thing to do. So I'm going to use a massive brush, but you don't need to. So I've got what we call a dagger. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a light glaze for the background. So we're sort of bringing all this together now. So, oh, didn't put out my aquastone. So put my aquastone over here. And then I'm going to put blending solution and extender on it as well. So, sorry. So I'm going to do the background. So just going to get a little bit of the blue, tiny bit of the extender, not a lot. And I'm just going to paint. Need a tiny bit of water to loosen the brush. There we go. Right, now that's given me what we call a fade haze, and it's so easy to do. And if you're starting out with watercolour or, acrylics, that's incredibly difficult to do. It's not with these products. Watch. It's just one brush. You can go over it a bit darker if you want, but the products do it all. I'm not having to do it. So just putting what we call this on, just so that I've got like a bit of a background. I don't want it to be really heavy. I want it to be in the background, hence it's called that. Sometimes people say that they get a bit bogged down with trying to do too much in the background, and if you do that, you can't see what's in the front. So just think of it, don't matter if it goes over, just think of it as layering with another piece of paper. So I'm just going to draw that in. Tiny bit more water to loosen my brush. When I loosen my brush, it's just so that the bristles spray out a little bit better for me. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is just add a tiny bit of the darker colour just on the edge. I'm using, this is called a sword or a dagger or a knife. Yeah, so this type of brush is a sword. This one's called a mudder, but you can get swords or knives that look the same, and it's on an angle. You can get longer versions and a longer handle, and this one is, I'd say, 45 degree, and that allows me to put it on the and pull. So if anyone wants to know about this brush, that's what it is. I tend to use these a lot. So I've got my background. Right, there we go. So I'm happy now. Leave that to dry. Put a little bit more colour on if I wish. So I'm just going to leave that to one side. I'm going to get a smaller brush now for the inside. I'm using a flat brush now. And this one is just, I think it's it's 16. Just look at the numbers on some, because they do change slightly. So what we're going to do is put some colour into the background. So this is where our mixing comes in. So I've got a little bit of the red and a little bit of the blue. I know it's going to go because it's already in there. So pick a bit more of that up. So I'm making like a purple, and I'm just going to add a tiny bit of extender. This allows me to work longer so that I've got a little bit more time. Okay, so just going to add a tiny bit of that. Go back to my colour, and I'm making like a tint. So you'll see, oh, it's beautiful to use. It's adding the depth to it that I need without obliterating all the detail. The detail's still there. Just going to use it a little bit here as well. Keep that colour there because we can use that later. And then just brush out. Really simple. This is just an ordinary flat brush, nothing special. And you might want a little bit in here as well. See how much longer I've got with this extender? It's allowing me to work like longer with the paint, but I can add more now. I can blend it in a way with the extender that I didn't have the opportunity. Well, no, I did have the opportunity. I just didn't have the right product because it works too fast, it dries too fast. So now I can add a tiny bit of red, and because the extender's already there, it's allowing me to work it out, and you can just see this beautiful sort of haze there. Add a little bit more red. I'm just going to do the same here. So a little bit round, pull it out, a little bit more, pull it out. And I'm building up in layers. It's really important that you don't try and do it all at once. You do it all at once, you've got no chance of creating the layers and tones, because they all interact on top of each other and they sort of lie better. And you get so much better results. So we've got that in the dark, but I want to sort of bring a tiny bit more light to it. So I'm going to dip into my yellow, take it off, extender. Just going to warm up the colour a little bit. There we go. So it's more of a orangey colour. Right, I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to work with the yellow and the orange now, just to give it a bit of vibrancy. So you can already see now that it's taking the flowers further. So anything underneath here will have a shadow. So just before I forget, I'm going to use the same colour, only a little bit. And I'm just going to put a little bit there. Right, like that. And I'm going to clean my brush straight away, because I don't want... There we go. Can you see the shadow it's created? It's created a nice little shadow. Do a bit more. See, if you was to just slap this on straight away, it'd be opaque, and you wouldn't be able to see that nice fade. There we go. Hope you can see that a bit easier now. And lift it up for you to see a bit. You see the shadow it's creating there? So now, let's get some blending with colours. So remember, if you want light, stick to the light colours first. So we're going to go with a yellow. Love yellow. It just makes my day. So I'm just going to put yellow, and I'm just going to put it around the middle. Now, this time, I'm going to clean my brush, because I want it to be as much true colour as possible. I'm going to use a little bit of the blender, and the blender will allow the colour to blend. And because of the nature of the paint's dry on here, I'm not really going to be contaminating the colours. So I'm going to get a little bit of the red, and the blender and I'm going to blend the colours. So I'm starting the opposite side, look, brush it in, and I'm getting that soft orange. Again, the colours are blended, they're not, I'm not mixing them first, but you can do, like we did. We've shown you all the different ways you can use them. Well, no I haven't, I've shown you some, not all. I don't think I could ever show them you. There's that many you could do. So building up the colour, I want it to be intense, but I won't do it all at once. But you can see how the blender allows the colour to, but it dries a lot faster. So, but I do, each one has got a brilliant use. It's just the fit for purpose, perfect, absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to run that in. And it doesn't look that bright now, and I know, but once you start, let's go with a little bit more red. Right, okay, so I'm going to go now with, oh, that's gone, picked up a tiny bit there. We've got about 10 or 15 minutes left now, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to sort of confidently go away and say, yeah, I really I'm inspired to have a go. Even if you don't produce a masterpiece the first time, please don't be despondent because, you know, we weren't born running. And these things, it's all about experimenting. So I'm just going to darken the edge. So I've got the yellow there. Using the blender, just going to bring the yellow back in and blend it out again. And this gives me a bit more of a, it makes the colours sing. By that I mean, if you do, just brush it off because you've got time to. See, round here, it makes the colours more vibrant. Then I'm adding the red in again. So I'm going to go with the red on its own. And I'm just going to go flicking in. And when I lift it up, you'll see that petals are like that. But because I've got that lovely base, it works brilliantly. And so you don't have to sort of be too worried about detail. You've got all the colours, the blending's done. It's just so simple to do. Honestly, it really is. So we've got that nice orange now. It's got a warmth to it. If there's bits that you want, just you can add them like that. So there's that. So let's do, shall we do, let's go with, just go with bright yellow. So here, I'm just putting the colour on everywhere. And because that purple's there underneath, it's still shaded. So here we've got the colour down first. What I'm going to do is get the red out again. I've not got much here. And this is where you need a tiny, a small brush, a flat brush, and we're using it almost like a dagger. So clean your brush, get it flat, dip it in, and then we're going to go right, and then I'm going to get, where's that other brush gone? Clean my brush off. So strong, these colours. That's better. Can you see now? Just a tiny bit. So dagger, brush, flick. And I'm not using anything here. I just love the way they work. You can draw with them, you can paint with them. You know, I can get rid of him. So if you want to get rid of him because you've got the layers on, you can get rid of him. So let's do a few. They don't look right like that, I know that, but once you start flicking, you get, can you see how the extender will allow me more time? The blender only allows me a shorter time, but it's fit for purpose. It's what I need here. Right, so we've got these bright colours, which are nice and florally, and I just think they're beautiful. I love these colours. So let's say we'll go for a bright, I don't know what I want to do in the middle there. I'm going to go with, got to do it because one of my favourites. Just a flat paint. I'm not making or doing any fancy bits, just adding that there. But what I am going to do is just put little brushes, little marks with my brushes, and it's almost like the stamens. And because it's dry and it's opaque, it's not mixing. Sometimes you did this on another paint, it may inadvertently mix, and you don't want that. So we've got that. I'm going to drop down now to the black, and I'm going to make, remember what we said at the beginning, and I show you these. I'm going to make a dark turquoise. So it's still the same colour, but it's a darker version of it. And then we just go round And that brings like the centre of the flower. And then if you're lucky enough to have these, and I highly recommend them, don't forget, you have to go on Stone 25 and you'll get 25% off. These are cleaners, great. So I'm going to get a bit of the white. And I'm just going to add a little bit of feature to that. Looks quite stark, so what you do, get another one and you can do a darker turquoise with it, or in my case, because there's a lighter turquoise underneath it, I go back in with a lighter turquoise and take some of the dark out and the white. Just show you what I mean. So the white's quite bright, so if I just go in and just work around where the white is, can you see how I've tamed it down there? So, and then you mix. Just move it over there so you can see. So, yeah, can you see I've built that up? And then the last bit you do is get that on that bit, believe it or not, because it's all dry. These are all techniques that I've shown you. I'm going to add some yellow. Now, you know, if I'd have put that with the turquoise at the beginning, I'd have got green. Whereas I don't have it now. I have the colour all sitting on top, quite bright. So we've got that. What I'm going to show you now, it's really simple. I'm just going to put some colours around here, nice and bright. I'm just going to do. And this is what I do on a lot of my work, is just little nice dots to build up the colour. And this is another way of blending. This is pointillism. It's a really cool way of layering without covering. So I can get lots of nice depth when they're all nearer, but I don't have to sort of blend if you're not too fond of blending at the moment. If we put this on using dots, it's easier and you get a darker colour. Beautiful. So it won't take me a minute. The next colour you'd sort of use is you could put a dark red, but if you use black and red it tends to go a different colour, so I'm quite pleased to say that this is a very good paint for black and red. It doesn't go to that. There's one colour that's not great colour, and it's black and red. I can't tell you which paint it is because I can't remember, but you tend to stay away with them, whereas I don't with this now, because it just reacts so well together. So that's another plus for it. Right, okay, so we've put them in, the red. And if you look at flowers, they're made of all sorts of colours. They're not made of just one. You'll see oranges, reds, yellows, blues, all together, and you think, wow, I didn't see that before. So here, I'm going to go with the turquoise. This is going to make it sing. And that's because when we say sing, it means your eye is mixing the colour. I'm not actually mixing the colour, but your eye is mixing the colour. So you get a different effect. And then I'll put some black in just to show you. There's going to be a whole class on this, and you know, in my lives and stuff, on my own Facebook group and stuff, you can see me doing this a lot more. And then on the 30th, you'll see me doing the show with it. So tiny bit of black. And these paints work brilliantly if you do stone art. So if you've got stones and you paint on stones, this is perfect for that, especially with the stone art, I mean on rocks and stuff. A lot of people are doing the rock art. It looks brilliant as well. So yeah, this works on that. It's really strong. It goes on glass, but with all surfaces like glass and stuff, you do need a sealer with anything, and yet it will really, really stick. But if you're going outside, I would always suggest a strong varnish on it. So there we've got that. I'll just hold it up for you. There, you've got that play of colour. Your light is being, the colours are being mixed by your eye. So you can stencil, you can stamp, you can blend, you can do your own patterns. So just show you here, we can do our own patterns with it. So I'm copying the pattern that's down here. So I can use it like I'm drawing with it. That was a bit dodgy, that one, wasn't it? Yeah, I'll do it again. And then if I want to put white on this, I can. I'll just show you where I would put white. So we've done everything I can think of. But there are about 1,000 more uses. And if you look at what others have done, like David and Mel and Amanda and, you know, and Steph, what they've done with it. Right, so the last bit, I'll be here forever, is just adding the lights to it. And I would finish the colour off there, but hopefully that's been, you know, when you think of how much the price was for the Zoom and the little the set together, I think hopefully you'll go away a lot more confident and realise, you know, you've got a really good basis. And if I just show you the dry stone, see it? That is so glossy, isn't it? And you can use crackle in it and all sorts, but just to show you that, you know, just those few elements in this, you've got such a repertoire, and we've done loads and loads of things. And like I say, the best thing is you try it, make your little swatches, draw on the right on the back what you've done, and then you've got that forever. And you can say, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, and I hope you've enjoyed that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you want the stone, go to the website, Highlight Crafts, and in the additional bit where it says promotion code, don't forget that. Can't just write it anywhere. Put stone 25 and then check out and it'll come out. And that is, but it ends on the 30th, okay? And that's for you. Stone 25, 25% off. And if you need any more colours, I would suggest for an extender pack, the green, the purple, the lime, the pink, and there was another colour, wasn't there? Turquoise. Right, I'm going to end it there. It's going to take me an hour to clean up. So thank you for your time and thank you for watching. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Please send your feedback. I've got no money, so I can't pay you. But yeah, tell me what you liked and what you think works for you. And then we can work on that for the next videos. Okay, so take care, everybody. Thanks for your time.